If you're not passionate about going west on DIY trips, mastering the countless things involved, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of things that the hunting industry tells you. 2 weeks later, driving home, just going, man, that did not turn out the way I thought it would.
Hunting out west can be an intimidating dream. The Camo Matrix has teamed up with DIY legendary bow hunter Eddie Claypool to help us all become better hunters. To introduce Eddie to the channel, we sat down and discussed the challenges that one might face when becoming a Western hunter. All right, well, I'm going to start, Eddie, first, thanks for kind of being part of what the Camo Matrix is going to kind of branch into doing a Eddie Claypool DIY help segment. And what I've done is I've asked a number of questions to a couple of the people that are out there, or I actually put it out there so that everybody could chime in. I selected a number of questions that can kind of introduce you to answering these types of questions and also helping people become better DIY hunters. And the first question I'm actually picking because it really cues in with me, and we're sitting in northern Wyoming right now during the beginning of elk season. And I'll actually be hunting elk in Montana, and you'll be hunting elk in Wyoming. But the reason why I'm out here is because of your assistance in really pushing me to get out west. And so the biggest question probably that came through was, how does an Eastern or Midwestern hunter begin to even think about hunting out west? How can a DIY hunter begin to think about hunting out west?
Probably the main thing I'd say, which is kind of an intangible, is you better have a passion to do it. That's the first thing, because if you're not passionate, then it won't turn out like you dream. I've sent a lot of people out that it was a fantasy to them, and then they went and tried it and it become a whole lot of work and they didn't last. If you're not passionate about going west on DIY trips, mastering the countless things involved, then just let it be the carrot that always dangled in front of your nose. But if you're going to do it, it doesn't take a lot of money. Nowadays it takes a pretty good bit to get started. The tag and the fuel and the food and all that stuff's going to run, a couple of $1,000s minimum to DIY it. But that pales in comparison to an outfitted hunt, which is probably $10,000. I come every year and I stay sometimes a month to 2 months, and my entire bill to hunt a couple of states, fuel, food, and everything will usually run around $3,000. That's not counting the gear and everything. You have to really do research and find out what kind of gear, find out what are your desires when you get out here. Do you want to go on backpacking backwoods hunts? Or do you want to just base camp hunt, hunt out of where you can drive to? If you don't need nearly the amount of gear, if you do that, you're still going to need a good backpack, but you don't need all the camping gear for the backcountry. I've always been a backcountry guy, so I bought a lot of good backpacking gear. And, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of things that the hunting industry tells you, like the most expensive optics in the world. You don't have to do that. The main thing is, if you got good whitetail savvy from back home, come out here with an attitude to work hard and get your pre-research done. Do Google Earth. If you want topo maps, get them. I live by them, but I'm old school. And get out here and put your feet on the ground. I always allow myself probably a week before the hunt starts to start foot scouting my area. And I cover a lot of ground. I'll cover 5 to 10 miles a day for a week. And I'll go look at usually a new spot every day. And it's just like whitetails. If you don't do no scouting, you're not going to reap any benefits. You got to really do it out here. And you got to learn you got to already know where your access points are and where the more overlooked places you're going. Because if you're going to do it all on yourself, you ain't going to have anybody already, like with outfitted hunts, they already take you to the game. You're going to have to figure out, elk are very spotty. They don't inhabit the entire area. Out of 100% of the area, the pockets of elk are going to take up maybe in a good area, they might take up 30 or 40% of the whole landscape, and they're going to be concentrated, and they're going to be away from where the people are bothering them. Those are the main things to figure out. Same thing with the mule deer. Antelope, kind of a no-brainer on antelope, because you're out in open country, you're going to use your optics to find them, and then figure out where, if you're water hole hunting them, you know, it goes without saying. But to come out west on your first trip, you better have a lot of want to. You better be prepared for some mental toughness, because you're going to run up against some things that's going to
And let down too. That's the other thing.
letdowns. And do not expect instant success, because I mean, everybody looks at what I get done, but I've been doing it 40 plus years. And the first years, the formative years, I learned everything the hard way, made every mistake countless times. Didn't kill an elk my first whole year I bow hunted them. I went to the Colorado and went back and forth 2 different trips in a 5-week season, and hunted most of that 5 weeks and did not kill one. So don't be ashamed to not be successful right off. You've got to learn the ropes. And if you're going to DIY it, you're a guy that wants to learn them on his own. It don't hurt to get all the information you can. Like, I could sit down and give people detailed information, you know, really detailed on elk. But I've done that for years, and I've watched the people take it out there, and they're just intimidated, and they go crazy. They forget everything I've told them, and they stumble around and are intimidated by the country, intimidated by the task at hand, and end up 2 weeks later driving home just going, man, that did not turn out the way I thought it would.
It could have been their last one too.
A lot of times I've seen it. I've seen people that were so excited to try it that a month later, after they went and come back, they sold all their backpacking gear, and that was the end of it. They never went again. So I don't know what it takes to be to have the right stuff to stay hooked on this and make it work, because you have to make it work. It ain't going to come easy. There's about a 10% success rate on average success, I'm thinking. And if you really want to do it like I do it, you're going to have to put years in, years. And you got to do lots. Nowadays, you can actually do a lot of the research that I used to have to always do ahead of time on the ground. I used to always start my elk season 2 weeks ahead of time. And by the time it come around 2 weeks later, I was in mental, physical shape. I knew the country. I knew the animals. But nowadays, you can do a lot of what I did in those 2 weeks at home on your computer. Google Earth it, and just get yourself as prepared as possible. Then come out here and don't come on an elk hunt. I've always just said, don't come on an elk hunt for less than 2 weeks. Yeah. Don't come out here on a 1-week trip.
Well, the travel alone from the East Coast or even the Midwest takes you a number of days, so right. You have to allocate for that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was hard. The access is the hard thing. Figuring out where you can go and where you can't go, and whether or not you can get into a certain area. Mm-hmm. That for me, and I'm still new to this, and especially for elk hunting, this is my virgin year, mm-hmm. really, and learning those access points. But I'm already having to go around and look at different areas just to even think about hunting it. And this kind of goes back to when you were taking me to the Midwest, and I'm looking at your maps, and you've got notes all over your maps of where you've been and what it might hold, what your access was. So that digital research that you can do still is just the beginning.
It's about 50% of the picture. Then you got to go see if it's real, because you can see roads, you can see trailheads, but you might not know seasonal closures and different things. There's so many. I mean, hunting whitetails it's not simple by any means, but Midwest and Eastern whitetail hunting is not real complicated compared to coming out west and learning everything that's involved in a Western DIY hunt. There is a million different bases you got to cover. And like I said, it's not going to happen in a year. the first year will do one of two things. It will light a fire in you that will last from now on, and you will become a Western hunter, or it will tell you right up front, that ain't for me. And so I always tell people the first year to just dive in, do it, see what category they fall in. If they're disappointed and intimidated and frustrated with what happened, go play golf. You know.
Yeah.
If not, if it lights a fire in you, then you got the right stuff. Keep at it. It was 2 or 3 years before I got to where I felt like I had elk in my back pocket, and that was with me spending 5 to 7 weeks each of those first 3 years. Now think about that, because for the average guy that's coming out here to hunt 2 weeks, that would be close to 10 years for him.
Oh yeah.
I was putting in 7 weeks a year right in my elk area for 3 years before I got to where all of a sudden I had the confidence and the knowledge that it wasn't about me killing elk anymore. It was about how big a bull, how many did I want to wade through, how much did I want to enjoy it before I filled my tag. And I finally got to where I thought, to me, elk bow hunting was 100% success. I mean, I would pass up 10 or 20 bulls a season. You know, I would wait till the last week almost purposefully to fill a tag after 6 weeks of hunting or 5 weeks of hunting to just make sure that I got to hunt. I didn't want to fill a tag, get done, and go home. That was like torture. You know, and 1 or 2 times, because I waited till the last few days to try to fill a tag, I got bit, you know. But it wasn't that I had passed up 20 bulls already that were in point blank bow range. So, I mean, it can be done. I'm living proof. I done it, have done it, am doing it the poor boy way, and it ain't easy. And my experience, the greatest obstacle is you better just find out if you got the right stuff or not. Dive in, come out here, hike your hind end off, face all the obstacles, and see how they affect you. Because if you're not going to stay hooked, and if you're looking for instant gratification, I can already tell you you're going to fail. The ones I've always sent out here, I could tell they just wanted to come skim the cream off the top. They're 1 year guys.
These might be the guys that sit in a box stand over a feeder.
Right. They're the guys that even when they're whitetail hunting, they just want to skim the cream off the top. They don't want to be the guys that go hunt public land and spend 2 or 3 drives scouting their ground, then 2 weeks hunting it in November and getting up at 3 in the morning and doing everything, you know, canoeing to the. They're not those guys. That percentage of bow hunters is minimal. I don't know where it falls, but it's probably in the 5% or less range out of the whole bow hunting community. And I don't want to crush people's dreams. The other 95% got every right in the world to go west and try it on their own, and should, if they have dreamed of it. But don't become permanently depressed if you do this and then decide it ain't for you. Maybe shift from mule deer or elk in the high country, the hard country, maybe shift to antelope. Because as I've gotten older, my passion for elk is waning because of everything involved in it. It's nothing but hard work. That was a love of my life for 40 years. Now it's actually getting to be to where I catch myself viewing it as a little bit of work. So I'm shifting to antelope hunting. I wouldn't have walked across the street for an antelope for 40 years. I had no interest in them. They were just like turkeys to me. Who hunts turkeys? Sissies? You know, who hunts antelope? Sissies? You know, I mean, men go to the mountain and bust their guts out all day and night, hunting elk and mule deer in the high country and everything. But hey, I'm starting to wear panties nowadays, so I'm embracing that. It ain't easy. And if you come out here and find out that the DIY thing ain't for you, for elk or deer, try antelope. And if it ain't for you for antelope, if it's still a lot of logistics to get out here
Oh yeah.
and do it. And if it ain't for you, then save your money and about every 3, 4, 5 years, whatever you can afford, go ahead and go outfitted, because they will take you in, put you on game, feed you, take care of packing it. You know, it's just not my cup of tea, because I didn't start out that way. And now with my experience, I couldn't go with an outfitter. We'd be fist fighting.
Yeah.
Because I'm too strong-headed and I know what I'm going to do. See, they're for the people that don't know what to do and want some help. They can help. I'm not recommending outfitters because I don't like them, but I would think if you've dreamed of doing this all your life and you come try it a time or two and you're depressed because it ain't for you, then save up your nickels and dimes and go do a real backcountry elk hunt with an outfitter.
Yeah.
They can be good.
And the other thing, speaking with outfitters, if you're not going to do it with an outfitter, you have to play the point game out here also, which is something
that's another
new
thing
that's not on the East Coast. On the East Coast, you can just buy your tag, whether
right.
you're out of state or not. But out here, where we're sitting right now takes points.
Well,
anywhere else takes points for the most
yeah,
part.
and I'm not used to thinking that way, because the first 30 years of my 45 years of doing it, you never had to worry about tags. You could go to any western state and buy it. It's only been in the last dozen years or so that it's got to where it's at now. And as of 2024, to go elk hunting with a bow, I don't know anywhere left hardly that's across the counter. It's just about almost become 100% draw game. So that's another topic. Yeah, you better start thinking about that, because it takes, like where I'm going to be hunting this year, 9 years to get this tag.
Yeah, and every single state is different. You have to learn how each one of them works.
Right.
And the other thing that's different is that in one state out on the East Coast, you can hunt the whole state, where here you just might have one area that you have the ability to hunt in. And each one of those areas are different for the point system.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I study it like probably as much as anybody around, all year round. And it changes every year. So just as soon as you learn all the rules in a certain state, they'll change it up on you completely. Where I'm sitting right now, the whole boundary of this unit's changed. It's changed twice since I've been coming here. So, I mean, if you don't keep up with things, you can violate the law real easy. I'm not trying to scare people off. It's not rocket science, don't get me wrong. You just got to look through what you're doing, and if you need to, call them. Tell them. Say, I want to talk to somebody that'll answer my questions. They're supposed to be public servants and take care of you, so the game and fish should. If there's things you're not sure and you can't find, because I mean the regs now are that thick.
Oh yeah,
100 pages of stuff.
And for an East Coaster, looking at those things is very intimidating, because you don't know what you're looking at, because you haven't put your feet on the ground. And so picking those areas, that's another thing. And there's online tools to help people navigate those things, but still knowing the regulations, carrying them with you is probably part of the process that they would really need to get a hold of.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that, because I started at about 20 years of age doing this. So it's second nature to me, and I don't think about how intimidating it is to everybody else. And nowadays, it's probably 10 times as intimidating as it was when I started. Back in my day, it was a no-brainer. I threw a few things in the back of a truck, drove west in a day, stopped at a sporting goods, bought any tag I wanted, statewide hunting, very little regs. And I mean, nowadays it is complicated, but it can be learned. I keep up on it. I'm 65 and I can keep up on it. So anybody can do it. And I'm just saying, if you want to chase your dream and try it, jump in head first. Be prepared for some mental letdowns and heartache. And if they affect you negatively and shut you down, then just accept it. Maybe try antelope, because antelope hunts are pretty simple and easy, and low country, and elk are tough unless you draw like an Arizona tag, which is probably 15 years in the
Yeah,
making.
that'll take some. I'm building that, and it's going to take me years to be able to do that. So,
Yeah.
and that's, of course, that's thanks to you too, because I
Well,
wouldn't even have known to try that.
well, I mean, yeah, and I don't really realize how people that are just getting going have so many things to. I just, so much of it is second nature to me because I've lived it for 45 years. It's been my passion, and when something's a passion, you absorb it to the point it comes out your ears, you know, and you love it, and that's what it's been to me. And so I don't really get a grip on other people feeling that they are not prepared or need to be prepared to try this. And I can tell you, really, I don't want to scare people, but honestly, if you haven't done this, I don't think you can get prepared. You just have to do it. And then you start getting prepared. The first year is going to be like a trial run. Don't expect to run right straight into a DIY elk hunt and jump to the top of the pile. You got to climb up the ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm 45 years into it, and I'm still learning. Every single trip in every single state, in every type of habitat, I get a little bit more experienced and learn how to make it easier. And so, you know, I can't tell you how to, I can't give you a lamp to rub. You just got to, if you've got a passion to try it, do it, and then get back with me and tell me about it.
Okay, well, that'll be the goal of kind of what we're going to be trying to do here is harness some of that information, because it usually, whenever I'm talking to you, it's I'll be at home on the phone, and I'll have a notebook, and I'll be writing things down, and it's actually hard to keep up because it's like a hunting education all the time, even yesterday hunting.
Yeah, and I don't think about that because I ramble so fast. Peg says I talk. She'll lock in on one thing I say, you know, and need to think about it. And I'm in the third thing after that by then already. And I'm like, are you listening? And, you know, I'm a sugar freak, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can harness this, and we can put it together to where people can learn from it.
Yeah.
And they can at least get out there and try some of these things.
Yeah. Well, like talking about a DIY Western hunt, it's like a giant subject. You know,
yeah.
A guy's got to break that down and figure out what are your main factors. Like, there's about 1,000 things involved in that. So maybe in the future we can address a few of them specifically.
Be sure to like and subscribe for any future videos with Eddie. And go ahead and put your questions in the comments below for any future discussions with him.